Okay, we went live yesterday, Tuesday. Tons of updates today. Don't have time to go live. Have too many things going on, but put together some timely information for those of you following along. I'm not really a part of any of it except for I do have a heritage update. They did contact me this morning, but Cynthia has some updates, and then there are quite a few emails that came from the estate case, probate case, that I am delinquent. I was asked a couple weeks ago to put out by a searcher, and I was asked about it, so I've included it here with a little bit of commentary, but I read them all so you at least have them out in a public forum. And then a little bit of conjecture at the end of the timing seems very interesting. I'm not sure exactly what to say about it, but I put in my thoughts. Happy viewing. So went live last night. This morning I woke up to a response from Heritage via email. I've been working with a gentleman named Josh. I hadn't heard from him in a couple days. He apologized. He was very pleasant when we talked on the phone before. He clarified that sometimes Heritage requires a deposit of 25% of the amount of each bid prior to the acceptance of a bid. So bidders who wish to bid in excess of their established credit history may be required to provide their Social Security. And a credit check may be performed prior to the auctioneer's acceptance of a bid. So since I never had a bid, it looks like, and I've asked for some clarification of what do you need. I put a credit card down with a $25,000 credit line. It's looking like there may be a requirement of a 25% of each bid. So if I bid $100 on a coin, I would be required to pay them $25 to like a good faith, they would hold it for any bid that I put in. I know everybody else is just bidding away with a credit card, so I'm not sure exactly what's happening, so I did ask for clarification, and I'm waiting to hear back from that. But interesting, we went live last night. They got back to me this morning. Interesting, I guess. Next, also, perhaps in response to our show last night, Cynthia did reach out to Carl, and this is a post that she made on Facebook, and then it seems also on Discord. So here's what she wrote. I just posted this on Discord too, so viewers from each social media site can read the same information. I just got off the phone with Carl Summer regarding the autobiography and what the Fenn estate copyright means. He said you can read it online in front of a camera, even if the YouTube channel monetizes. Doesn't matter. He will check into the detail. I will ask him to verify with Zoe regarding the Fenn estate's expectations and send me a statement that I may share on social media. The interpretation of Shiloh's text messages to Candy have been misconstrued, which I assumed, and Shiloh is neither a lawyer or the Fenn estate representative. Okay. Then she responded about an hour later and said, update on the autobiography copyright. And there's 4 exclamation points for those that keep track of that. I am sorry I misunderstood my conversation with Carl. He just sent me this clarification. Quote, it is clear that a copyright owner has the exclusive right to perform or display a protected work publicly, including a display or public reading online. In other words, Shiloh is correct in stating that the buyer of the olive jar does not have the right to read it publicly. I apologize to Shiloh and Zoe and Carl for this morning's show, and I inadvertently created due to my misunderstanding and trying to help the community understand. Yikes, I will shut up from now on, moving forward. But now we know, despite me being in the doghouse. Now I emphasize and highlighted and underlined in red, read it publicly. And now that you've seen exactly what was said, let me give you my thoughts on that. I think this one's kind of Captain Obvious, but has not actually been clarified. So of course, there's a copyright protection. You cannot read from cover to cover a book. But that was not the issue that I had in question. The question that came from Candy, and this is a small excerpt in fair use, says, does that mean that a person who owns that jar and opens it won't be able to, and there's 3 things she asked, read it out via a live stream, share the contents with the community, and talk about it in any way or form? And he's saying, yes, that's exactly what it means. I'm fine with 1 and 2, read it out loud or share the contents like in a whole, but talk about it in any way or form. I don't believe that is under copyright. So let's say, for example, I'm going to give you an example. Let's say this olive jar says at the end of the day that Skippy was D.B. Cooper, and there's 5 chapters on it. You can't read those 5 chapters, but can you say Skippy's D.B. Cooper in a sentence? That would be talking about it in a shape or form. And it seems like Shiloh is stating you cannot do that. So though I think Cynthia was trying to get some clarity and post it, she's talking about, or the response was about reading it from cover to cover. Of course not if something is copywritten, but I don't think that's the issue at hand. The issue at hand is, and I've highlighted here, talk about it in any way or form. And Shiloh says that's exactly what it means. I do not believe that is correct. I've talked to enough attorneys and just have basic knowledge to say a copyright does not protect. Like if we say the TTOTC is a treasure hunting book, we can talk about it if we don't own the copyright, but we can say, sure. And then there's fair use that gets under what percentage, etc. I'm not even talking about that, but talk about it in any way or form. I just don't believe that's correct. But again, I may be wrong. Hopefully somebody writes it down on a bar napkin and hands it over to Discord or Facebook later, and we get some clarity. Dear Lord. Some of you reminded me after the show last night, I had been sent various emails between Jack and Forrest, and I still had not put them out. They are on Facebook, several, so I'm going to put the disclaimer, is I was one of several people sent these by a fellow searcher, asking us to publish these, of course, on Cowlazars. I wasn't doing shows at the time, and then it was oddly timed exactly with the Heritage Auction starting, so it kind of fell by the wayside. But these were published on Facebook about 2 weeks ago. I've highlighted a couple things that I think are super interesting. All of them have in the bottom header the exhibit document. This is a state's documentation from 2/28/22. So I think some are pretty benign. I have those up front, and then those that are more telling, I think are more towards the end. So I did promise you, I apologize that it's so late. I'm not going on live about it, but I did want to highlight my points to it, but I did do a cut and paste so you can read it yourself. And then I'll do a little bit of commentary maybe after each one. This one's pretty benign, but 8/22/2019. Happy birthday, Forrest. Have a great day. May your next 89 be as good as the first. Thanks, Jack. On 1/23/19, horseshoe. Hey, Forrest, I was wondering what you did with the horseshoe you talk about Frank Turley making for you in TTOTC. Did you have something in mind when it was made, or did you just want to witness the process of making it? Jack. So 1/23/2019. Again, not groundbreaking. I actually think this one was out before, but let's talk about it again, I guess, because these were the ones specifically put out, and maybe there's some conspiracy theorists think these were put out for a particular reason. Not sure. 8/8/2019. I think the previous part of this email was, who are you again, Jack? Of course, no offense taken. I hope that means you have forgotten a dumb question or two I've asked you in the past. I'm 30 and a fourth-year medical student from Philadelphia. I first emailed you over a year ago at the beginning of my interest in your hunt, and about a year ago called you in a panic because I stumbled upon what I know now to be a fake blaze left by another searcher that seemed to imply I needed to dig. I didn't tell you at the time that another searcher then stumbled upon me sitting at that spot, and I was terrified he had a gun and would figure it out. I was sitting upon the treasure. I managed to talk my way out of that. A great story. I also sent you a YouTube video I made a few weeks ago on cognitive bias and how they're exhibited by Fenn searchers. Here's another link if you didn't see it. Sorry if it's a bit long and kind of academic. I searched near West Yellowstone and spent 2 weeks there this summer. I am coming to New Mexico for the first time, so I figured I'd take you up on the offer if it still stands. So 8/8/2019, he says he's heading back to Santa Fe if the offer still stands. So he obviously didn't make it there before, but he is making it around 8/8. I think this was the previous email. Sure, Jack, I'd like to see you. I hope you won't be wasting your time. Where are you? Hi, Hey, Forrest. I hope all is well with you. I'm going to be in Albuquerque August 15th through the 18th for a family medicine conference. I was wondering if that would be a good time to drive up and come visit. I'd love the chance to share some stories with you. Jack, I'm getting old. Please remind me who you are. This was the previous email to the one I just read, so they go in sequence. These are some notes I think that the searchers had, but this is the copy I was given, so I'll just continue on. Jack, I'm having a problem. Could we meet at my home tomorrow, 10:30 instead of 9? It would help me a lot. This was Sunday, 8:50 p.m. or 7:50 p.m. The dates or the times get a little off. I think that's why they underline and things. No problem. See you then. Thanks, F. And there is a BCC here to Carl Summer. This one is on 6/8. Yes, it did go to Carl BCC. Check this out, and it's the Santa Fe, New Mexican Forrest Fenn confirms his treasure has been found article from Jack to Forrest. Okay, on 1/26/2020, Jack sends to Forrest. Forrest, I'm taking a trip to Southeast Asia next month and was reminded today of the man who found your plane parts in Laos. And I'm wondering, do you know the location of the specific waterfall in my War for Me? Or have any fans of your stories figured out where it is? I think it would be cool to go to Vietnam and see it for myself. Thanks, Jack. Okay, these start to get a little bit more interesting. On 6/2/2018, so going way back. Forrest, I'm curious if you have any photos or mementos of the very special place where you hid the treasure, or if it's all just in your mind. I think maybe he was fishing a little bit here for information. Okay, Jack on 10/8/2019, some off-season viewing. Forrest, also wanted to pass along this YouTube channel. This man hikes and camps all around Yellowstone in all seasons of the year. And then there's a clip to a YouTube channel. I was particularly entertained by the video of Slough Creek last Christmas, another YouTube. The park sure is different that time of year, and these videos helped me cope with searching off season. Thought you might enjoy. Jack. Okay, now it gets more interesting. On 11/16/2019, hot on the trail. Forrest, you know every time you're writing a scrapbook about someone being hot on the trail, you're supposed to put a double omega at the end, like scrapbook 50, so that everyone knows. Even Lyndon Johnson would have that decency. Ha ha. Hope all is well with you and Peggy. So scrapbook 50 we know is Diggin' Gypsy. Diggin' Gypsy was at 9 Mile Hole, and put the double omegas on it. Maybe that was just code for Jack letting Forrest know he's now knows the location. This would be after he'd already found it, so perhaps, not sure. Okay, so May 7th, 2018, Jack wrote, Mr. Fenn, I'm certain you hid your treasure at 9 Mile Hole for various reasons. Obvious personal significance to your fishing holes there. Also, 9 clues, an anagram of indulgence is 9 clued G. I've waded across, how about 9 clue DG, Diggin' Gypsy? Oh, is that why he changed it from Tarzan? Oh, okay. I've waded across to the far bank and looked through the whole place until the forest gets too dense to walk. I've come across various possible blazes, none of which works. Tree stump at water's edge that looks like it has a T carved in it. Tree that appears to have oil carved in it. Tree stump at the water's edge that has hook and spider-shaped fly stuck in it. White plastic object that looks like an arrow stuck in the tree, stuck at a sandbar in the middle of the river. Various interesting looking broken or tall or scorched or lightning struck trees. I've removed some of these for the benefit of future searchers. I'm concerned that you may have buried it or the blaze is no longer visible. I wouldn't tell anyone if you gave me a slight hint or told me to use a metal detector, which I'm loath to do as this is illegal in the park. As it stands, nobody is ever going to find this at 9 Mile Hole, and eventually people are going to think this is a fraud. 5 days later, he followed up. Mr. Fenn, I also spent a lot of time going through the woods at 9 Mile Hole. No luck looking at the many interesting trees and stones. If there was a blaze, it may have been destroyed or obscured in the fire that seemed to have taken place a few years ago, based on the size of all the saplings everywhere. I also looked at the creeks leading into the river there, especially at the bifurcation, where two giant fallen trees cross onto a standing tree to make a perfect peace symbol. I would say that's a great blaze, but I looked everywhere, and there in vain for the chest. Again, if this is the spot, you need to make some sort of announcement that the condition on the ground has changed. So this is summer of 2018, May, early summer 2018. So it looks like he has spent a ton of time because he has found many different blazes. He is sure. He believes indulgence was changed to 9-clued G. I don't know. I think maybe 9-clued DG, which I just thought was interesting because he was into codes then. He talks about, should I get a metal detector? It seems like he is dedicated to this spot. So those of you that don't think he actually searched at 9 Mile Hole, it looks like more and more, and he's pushing Forrest for answers at this point. This is in May, over a 2-week time frame or a week time frame. He's emailing him on several occasions. Again, it just adds more. I think there was very few actual emails that were submitted into evidence that said 9 Mile Hole. And it looks like these are now coming out for some reason or another, validating 9 Mile Hole. There you have it. I'm taking a trip to Southeast Asia next month and reminded today of a man who found your plane parts at Laos. And I'm wondering, do you know the location of the special waterfall in My War for Me, or of any fans of your stories who figured out where it is? I think it would be cool to go to Vietnam myself to see it for myself. Jack. Did you depart the helicopter from Toi Hoya AB? The story seems to suggest that. But you say the journey took an hour, and the fastest helicopter of the war I could find, the Sikorsky CH-53 Sea Stallion, traveled just 196 miles in an hour. Assume you were flying north, not fishing, with the South China Sea to your right, as the story says. That would put you well within what was South Vietnamese territory on December the 22nd, 1968. Do I have that right? The story says, in it, enemy country. He didn't get a response. So the next day he said, if you don't want anyone to disturb it, I obviously understand the thought process. I wasn't going to go posting about it on the internet. I just thought it would be cool to walk some more of your footsteps. I didn't think it had anything to do with 9 Mile Hole. I'll leave you alone now. So maybe since he was so confident it was 9 Mile Hole, by this time he'd actually already found it, or discovered it but not retrieved it. He was just trying to get to know Forrest a little more. He didn't get an answer, so then he validated with Forrest. I'm not trying to get more hints on 9 Mile Hole. So he was just trying to get to know Forrest a little bit more. Interesting. I will read this whole thing, but I don't think the whole thing is actually pertinent. On October 30th, 2019, Lady Bird Johnson, shot in Temple, Texas. Forrest, recently I've been reading Robert Caro's series of autobiography of Lyndon Johnson. I'm a great admirer of Caro's, one of the greatest journalists and perhaps the best biographer of modern times. His favorite adage for doing research, quote, turn every page, was an inspiration for me as I pieced together your little slip-ups and other bits of information over the years that, taken together, proved to me the treasure was at 9 Mile Hole. These books have also given me a little insight into what it was like to live in that area in Texas in your early youth. One of the interesting details of this book is LBJ was a great impressionist, a skill blessed in mimicking his opponents during the Capade Trail. I was trying to see if I could find it from that and came across this YouTube. This is a home movie made by Lady Bird during his 1941 Senate campaign, along with commentary she seems to have recorded in the 1960s, as she referred to your pal John Connolly as the governor. I thought you'd be interested, as she included videos from a visit to Temple, about at the 1-minute mark, where he is seen shaking the hand of a small boy. The boy seems a little too young to be you in 1941, but I thought you might recognize him. Connolly and his wife also appear throughout this video, and LBJ returns to Temple towards the end of the video and picks up his mother from Scott and White. I hope it wasn't a bother for you to read this email. Have a good day. So this is October of 2019, so after he had discovered and found the treasure. So he's still, I think, trying to get Forrest's attention, and this was during the scrapbook dump, and so it seems he is still coming across things in relation to Forrest and connections. Okay, this is a several-part email. I'm going to go from the bottom up. 10/1/2019. Forrest, I was sorry to hear about the loss of Eddard. Sounds like a great guy. I was reminded by your moving piece of a story I read at Wally's Eagle's Son about the experience of depositing his ashes in the Madison. I don't know if you were present for that one. I can find the story and send you a link if you'd like. I would like a link of that. I would love a link to that story. Thank you. Here you go. I just ask that you don't write a scrapbook about this, as Kim Eagle has also written about 9 Mile Hole in a way that I believe reveals answers to some of the clues in your poem, and I don't want others to be tipped off. We've actually already put this out previously, but this is a link to it that Jack sent and said, since it's at 9 Mile Hole, and there's hints to this, goodness, don't publish it in a scrapbook, which I find entertaining at this point. This is the rest of that exchange. He said, here you go, just don't publish a scrapbook. And he said, Jack, Frankie sent that writing to me a few years ago. It was special, and Wally's memory came drilling back from earlier times. I knew his father, Sam, who was a man of strength and wisdom. Thanks for sending. You are welcome. Jack. Okay, so this is August 4th, 2018. This is a back and forth exchange of, I was friends with all the Eagles, including Sam. The father built the store. Wally and Joe were my best friends, and Frankie, of course. That's a cool connection. Did you fish with any of them at 9 Mile Hole? Jack. I fished there with Wally. Joe was not much of a fisherman. F. I watched the lure and saw a shot of your bookcase that showed a book with a handwritten binding, Forrest Fenn, Yellowstone. That looked like it had in a collection at a public library at some point. What sort of book was this? A photo book? Tales of your father's adventures in Yellowstone? That was my father's fishing diary. F. That was September 18th, 2018. I can tell you I'd not seen this previously when I put out the information, even sent a friend searcher to the Temple Library, and they are exactly right. So this is where I kind of dropped the mic, because it was what I suspected. So October 4th, 2018, getting back to you from our call earlier. On October 4th, 2018. Fishingreport.pdf was an attachment. I'm having the Temple Library try to help me find some of your dad's fishing columns on their microfilm of the Daily Telegram. Does this look like his column? I would assume he would have his byline on it if written by him. See attached. I believe this is where the slip up is that says exactly it's 9 Mile Hole, and he would never walk away from it then. But interesting, you could draw your own conclusions. Okay, 12/10/2018. Getting back to you from our call earlier. I bet it's an interesting read. I saw an article say he used to do a weekly fishing column in the Temple Daily Telegram. Do you know what years he wrote that? Forrest, Patty Bonet, at the Temple Daily Telegram told me she thinks your father wrote his weekly fishing column for them in the mid-70s and late 80s. Does that sound right to you? That's exactly what they told me too. Sounds about right, F. Hey, Forrest. Now he's not saying Mr. Fenn anymore. Hey, Forrest. Saw this video today about your pal, Alan Simpson, and thought of you. I never heard internment camps were in Wyoming. Quite a story these guys have. I hope all is well with you. Yeah, I think there's one of those columns. It's just going to take forever. One of those columns, I think, specifically calls the fish brown. That's my opinion, only my opinion. It took, I think, all day to go through one of the years of just going through every single microfish. And so, but this validates to me, he knew about his father's column in Temple. He went down there. They were helping him. They were going to help us find it as well. And yeah, this is the second slip up, no doubt in my mind. I find it interesting, the timing of these emails being asked to be put out and published to the community. I don't know why. These are questions I don't have. I don't investigate. I'm not going to be inquiring to. But it seems, if the rumor mill is at all complete, all of the emails between Jack and Forrest are with searchers. Why, 1, only share these? Why, 2, only share them now? And why, 3, not share them all? I'll just leave that to ponder in the community. I find these fascinating. If you believe in 9 Mile Hole, it validates it more. If you don't, it probably won't. But I believe it also puts some missing pieces together. I'm sorry I didn't get to this till now. I apologize to those that sent it to me. But I knew that Copper Dan had put it out on Facebook, so those that were interested, it was already out and a part of things. I was asked not to use the name of the source. I know when it did go up on Facebook, there was a name. I won't repeat that, but it seems maybe this is the fun of more that's coming. Not sure.